Welcome to Dr. Pam Unleashed, where we skip the gimmicks and get real about what helps pets actually thrive. I'm Dr. Pam, functional medicine vet, symptom decoder, and your guide to a vibrant, no BS pet care. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Dr. Pam Unleashed and to Power to the Puppy, Building the Foundation series. Today is part 3, the gut reconditioning, what's really going on underneath. I'm Dr. Pam. We've covered a lot of ground in this series already. We've talked about choosing the right breed and the right breeder or the right rescue for your actual life. We talked about food and about a study that I genuinely think changed how I see every puppy that walks through my door. Today, I want to show you what actually happens in that first puppy visit with me, because I think it'll help you understand not just what to think about, but how to think about it, how to organize it, how to build a plan instead of just reacting to whatever comes up next. Here's something I've noticed. A lot of families who come into me with a new puppy have a story behind them. They've lost a previous dog to something catastrophic, something that came on fast, or something that took years to show up and then took everything all at once. They don't want to go through that again. They want this dog to last longer, to have a happier, healthier life, grow older. That's exactly what setting the right foundation is about. Not perfection, just intention from the very beginning. The framework, what we actually talk about. When a new puppy comes in for that visit, there are a handful of things I make sure we talk about because these are the conversations that set the tone for everything else. The first is nutrition, of course. We'll come back to that in a moment because it's the one that we keep coming back to, period. The second is a thoughtful approach to immunizations. I help families think through a plan that's appropriate for their individual puppy, their breed, their risk factors, their lifestyles, with the goal of building immunity while minimizing unnecessary load on a developing system. This is a strategy conversation, not a one-size-fits-all schedule. Every puppy is different, and the plan should reflect that. The third is training and socialization. This is not optional, and it's not just about manners. The window for socialization is narrow, and it matters enormously for behavioral health down the road. We talk about what that actually looks like in practice, not just sit and stay, but exposure, confidence building, and setting a foundation for a dog who can navigate the world calmly. The fourth is making sure that you have the right primary veterinarian relationship. Someone who can provide the things that fall outside what I do, imaging, surgery, day-to-day urgent care. Part of my role is helping you understand what you need from that relationship and how to find a good fit. And then there's one more conversation that I think more people need to be having, and almost nobody is. Spay and neuter timing and options, specifically alternatives like ovary-sparing surgery and vasectomy, procedures that prevent reproduction while allowing your dog to keep their natural hormones. I've been recommending these to families for over 15 years, working with a network of skilled surgeons who perform them. For a long time, this felt like it was ahead of the research. Not anymore. There's a landmark study from 2023 that looked across over 6,000 dogs and found that longer exposure to those natural hormones was associated with better health and behavior outcomes across the board. Think of it this way. When we do a traditional spay or neuter, we're essentially inducing menopause or andropause in a young animal. And I can tell you from a very current personal experience going through menopause myself, losing your own hormones is its own kind of special fun. I promise you, if I were a dog, I would be advocating for hormone-sparing options for myself. This is generally a whole episode on its own, and maybe it will be. But here's what I want you to know for now. It's an option. It's something we discuss. In our care plan, there's actually a dedicated call just for walking through these choices and prepping for surgery in a way that helps your dogs heal faster and recover better. If nobody has ever mentioned this to you before, now you know it exists. What you do with it, well, I guess that's up to you. The pivot, back to nutrition. That's the framework. Nutrition, immunizations, training, the right vet team, and the spay-neuter conversation are all part of building a foundation. But if you've been listening to this series, you already know which one of those I keep coming back to. Nutrition. We've talked about what the research and Dr. Pottinger tells us about generational impact. We've talked about what to actually put into the bowl. But here's the thing. You can put the best food in the world in that bowl, and if your puppy's gut can't absorb it and use what's in it, none of it matters. Today we're going to go under the hood, into the gut your puppy was born with, how it develops, and why what happens there in the first few weeks and months of life sets the stage for immune function, brain development, and disease resistance for the rest of their life. This one's going to surprise you. The gut that used to be. Here's something I've watched happen for more than 30 years of this profession. And it's not something you'll find in a textbook. It's something you can only see if you've been doing this long enough to watch it unfold. When I was newer to holistic practice, I'd say 85 to 90% of my patients were on a raw food. And hell, they thrived. The coat, the energy, the stool quality, the immune resilience, all of it. The raw food just worked. It worked because the gut biochemistry behind it could handle it. The enzymes, the microbiome, the whole digestive infrastructure was robust enough to take advantage of what raw food offers. Today, that's not the case anymore. I see puppies, young, otherwise healthy-looking puppies, who can't tolerate the same raw diets that puppies of the same age handled beautifully a few generations ago. And here's the thing I want to be really clear about. That doesn't mean the puppy is allergic. It doesn't mean the puppy can't tolerate good food. It means something is missing. The gut biochemistry that used to come standard, the foundation that raw food was built to work with, has been quietly depleting generation after generation. If it sounds like something we talked about an episode ago, it should. This is the Pottinger effect playing out in real time, in real practice, in real puppies. Compounding depletion generation over generation. Pottinger documented cats over a 10-year study. I've watched a version of it unfold over 30 years in exam rooms. The framework. It's not intolerance, it's a missing piece. So what do we do with that? Here's what I tell clients, and it applies to a lot more than just food. If what we're doing isn't working, it means we're not over the target. We're missing something. A puppy who can't handle raw food, or who's reacting to foods that shouldn't be a problem, or whose digestion just seems off, that's not the end of the conversation. That's the beginning of it. Something is missing, and our job is to find out what. Which means before we write off food, or add another supplement, or just accept that this is the way it's going to be, we go looking for what's actually going on underneath. Sherlocking the chart. I call this dumpster diving, which honestly makes it sound a bit messier than it is. Really, it's more like Sherlocking your dog's chart. Elementary, my dear puppy parent. What that actually means is that I don't just look what's in front of me today. I look at the labs from 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago if they exist. I'm looking for trends, not just whether a number is in range, but which direction it's been moving and how fast. Because there's a pattern. There's always a pattern. Bodies don't just go from fine to not fine overnight. There's a trajectory. If you only look at one snapshot in time, you're going to miss it entirely. My job is to find that pattern, name it, and then figure out how to fix it. For a dog whose gut isn't doing what we expect, that might mean looking at inflammatory markers, looking at how certain values have drifted over time, even within their own ranges, looking at the whole history, not just today's snapshot. Because normal on a lab report and optimal for this individual animal are not always the same thing. And the gap between those two is often exactly where the missing piece is hiding. Here's where puppies and adult dogs actually diverge a little. For an adult dog, we do the full deep dive, the records, the trends, the functional labs, the whole Sherlocking process, because an adult dog is carrying two things at once. They've got the generational piece we've been talking about, and on top of that, they've got whatever they have acquired in their own lifetime. Years of diet, medication, environmental changes, everything. We go looking for all of it. Puppies are different. We typically don't start with the labs at all. We go straight to the basis of the gut because the generational depletion is already there at baseline, regardless of this individual puppy's short history. They haven't had the years of anything yet. What they have is what they were born with. So that's where we start. Starting with assessment, not assumptions. Here's what it actually looks like in practice. We don't assume every puppy needs intensive gut work just right off the bat. What we typically do is transition the puppy onto a lightly cooked whole food diet. That step is doing double duty. It's nourishing the puppy with real whole food ingredients that have been cooked at a very low temperature. And at the same time, it's telling us something. We're watching, we're assessing. Where is the gut actually starting from? Then from there, one of a few things happen. Some puppies do beautifully, and we can work toward a more raw food over time. Their gut biochemistry can handle it. Others show us pretty quickly that something's off. That's when we reach for something more targeted. That something is what I call the gut reconditioning protocol, or GRP for short. It's an actual protocol, not just a phrase. What it does is provide the raw materials the body needs to produce its own gastric acid. And it includes something that helps thin the bile and promote gallbladder expression, continuing the digestive cascade. The goal is to get the whole digestive pathway firing the way it's supposed to. Here's the way I think about it. The gut is a pH-driven pathway. Think of it like a row of dominoes. If the first domino doesn't fall, if the pH at the very start of digestion isn't right, nothing below it fires properly either. Every step depends upon the one before it. The gut reconditioning protocol is about getting that first domino to fall so the whole chain can do what it's designed to do. And for puppies who genuinely cannot be raw-fed dogs, we're identifying those puppies more often than we used to. The goal isn't to force raw food on a gut that can't handle it. It's to find the whole food dietary format that's still massively nutrient dense, but attenuated in a way that makes it more digestible. Sous vide or lightly cooked. Air dried, freeze dried, dehydrated. Different pathways, same destination. Real dense nutrition that this particular gut can actually see. 10 years ago, we barely used the gut reconditioning protocol. It was the exception, not the rule. Now, we're using it in the vast majority of dogs that come through the door. That shift, by itself, is the Pottinger effect. Not in a lab, over 10 years with cats. In my practice, over a decade with real dogs, real cases. This is real. And it's taking years off of puppies' lives, right now, in real time. The bridge forward. Here's the bottom line. If your puppy's gut seems fragile, or if foods that should be fine aren't sitting well, that's not a verdict. It's information. It's a pattern waiting to be found. The earlier you find it, the earlier in life, the earlier in the pattern, the more foundation you can build before anything has a chance to compound. That's the whole thread of this series. Breed and breeder, food and Pottinger effect, and now the gut has to do something with that food. Next time, we'll bring it all together. I'll see you there. I'm Dr. Pam Montgomery Fitz, functional medicine veterinarian and founder of Revitalizing Pet Care in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The pocket guide for this episode is waiting for you in the Hero.fm app. Finish the episode, and it unlocks automatically. Until next time, keep asking why.